Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Mr. Cameraman, and today we are talking about Batman Begins. So, this is a little bit separate from the Is It Still Good series. This is kind of like what I did with Harry Potter, and I reviewed all 8 of those movies. But the difference between this and that is the fact that I saw Harry Potter and all those movies at least 10 times. I never saw the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy up until I first watched it. Why is this? Well, I thought that I watched it at a very young age. And for some reason, I just realized a few weeks ago that I actually never saw these movies. So, for months, I was trying to push myself to find time to watch these things. And at this point of me recording it, I've already seen all 3. I know how this ends. So, I will say, this film is good. I really like the everything. I can't even explain it. I just love this film. I wouldn't say that this is anything near better than The Dark Knight. I think that's pretty common knowledge by this point. I think everyone knows that The Dark Knight is an incredible movie, and I'm going to have a whole video talking about it. But that doesn't mean that this film is bad. And I've heard that people have said it's bad because Bruce was, going to kill the person who killed his parents. But that's before he Batmaned. I think. Yeah, that's before he Batmaned. So, yeah, I think it's time we just kind of go through a plot. So Bruce's parents are killed, no surprises there. So then he basically, time jumps. You know Christopher Nolan loves to play with time. Basically, throughout the film, we're seeing how he basically was going to attempt to kill the man who killed his parents after the court meeting, but instead someone else killed them first. And then after that, he left town, and then he did his whole, the League of Assassins training with Ra's al Ghul. He then comes back to Gotham, Bruce Wayne's, Batman's, then some stuff with Scarecrow, which I'll get to. Then Ra's al Ghul attacks. Then there's the famous train fight, and then the film ends. So, yeah, let's just go through it. I really like that Bruce isn't good at the beginning. I know people say that even at the beginning he shouldn't be using a gun, but that's before he really learned that lesson. And yes, he knew the lesson before, but I think that's not like a random person. And we even see how Bruce is later in the film. I've never seen a Batman that is this Batman. I love especially, I like the beginning, but I really like the Ra's al Ghul training, or the League of Assassins, whatever you want to call it. That entire part is one of my favorite parts. Is it Ra's or Ra's? I don't even know. Whatever it is, it's one of my favorite parts of the whole film. I love how Liam Neeson is training with Batman. I'm just calling him Liam Neeson at this point, but I like how that works so much. I feel like Liam Neeson really takes the role with all his roles specifically, but this one, he did it so well. I love the way, especially when they're showing that sword fighting montage between the two of them. It just is such a brilliant scene, that whole montage of him learning it. And learning the skills and all that. It's such a great part of it. And especially the fight in, the room with all the League of Assassins. All, the singular people. And they were all wearing the same clothes, and Ra's al Ghul was trying to hunt down Bruce. And then they cut Bruce's arms, so Bruce cut the same places on the arms of the others. That was genius, in my opinion. That was, one of my favorite parts of the whole film. I loved, that was, I feel like out of every Batman, this Batman actually felt competent. And, he made that decision. He rightly made that decision. And it was a decision that helped him survive and do that. And right after that incredible scene, which was one of my favorite fight scenes in the whole film, Batman then goes to fight Ra's al Ghul, I think. Or Ra's al Ghul, whatever. And he's told to kill someone with a sword, I believe. And he still says no. And even Liam Neeson's you should do it. And he doesn't. So he kills him. And it's such a... He doesn't kill him. I don't even know why I said he kills him. My brain wandered off. He didn't kill him. But he did start fighting. He did kill Ra's al Ghul. That's what I meant. he did kill Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul. Please correct me if it's whichever one. But a huge fight breaks out, and that's one of my favorite parts. Like, I know I'm saying every part's my favorite, but for me personally, as someone who I've stated many times loves the League of Assassins plot, I loved it in Gotham, Arrow, and now this. I feel like this was one of my... It just was such a brilliant sequence, in my opinion. I loved the explosions. I loved everything about it. I loved how Bruce saved Liam Neeson, and Liam Neeson still is coming after Bruce. So I thought that was such a great scene. That was the opening to a Batman film. Then he comes back, and I do like Alfred in this. I wouldn't say he's my favorite Alfred. I do like the Alfred from Gotham a lot, but it's good. And then as time passes, we do get the first scene of Batman. And I will say, the first scene with Batman is really good. Like, compared to some of the other scenes we end up getting, the opening scene to Batman is kind of incredible. The scene of him, like, I will say, I don't love the suits of Batman in the later films. I don't love them. But this is such a great suit, especially with, like, the mouth. For some reason, I hate the mouth on the other ones. Like, the mouth on this one is just very good. And it feels like a shroud of darkness almost. And especially with, like, Lucius Fox, who, again, they never outright state to Lucius that Bruce is Batman. Lucius never says, "Oh, Bruce, you're Batman." But Lucius knows that he's Batman. And I love that whole sequence, even before we first see Batman, of Lucius showing Bruce around the entire facilities and showing all the gadgets. Because at the end of the day, this Batman has really, really good gadgets. And there's a lot of cool things, like, with those gadgets. And I really like them. Like, everything just feels natural, almost, when it comes to them. Like, it just, like, they just look cool aesthetically. They look cool. And it feels like Batman's, like, a force. Like, I know we also get that in The Batman, which I don't think I'm going to review. But this film, on its own, is just, in my opinion, so incredible at making Batman, like, a threat, almost. And I really like him to be a threat, because, like, I feel like this suit, as well, like, he just feels the meaning, almost. And I like how he's, like, disappearing from conversations. I know it's, like, a Batman thing, but it's very good. I just feel like this film does so much well, and especially with the directing style of Christopher Nolan, a lot of the shots elevate everything. So let's move on to the Scarecrow plot. I actually do like the Scarecrow plot quite a bit. I feel like that's plot in particular is just very good. I really like seeing Scarecrow kind of, like, I think Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow is good. I know that he appears in all three movies, but the other two are just cameos. But I really like him in this one. He could have standed as a main villain. Would he have been a good main villain? Not really. But he could have done it. And he does a very good job at putting the stuff in a water supply and then blowing up the sewers, I think it was, so that it activated, and then it, was that one? That's the one when they blew up the bridges too, I think. Whatever, they lifted the bridges, because then Batman flies over them. Yeah, but they did some very interesting stuff with the Scarecrow gas, and how they how to make it an air toxin, and how to shoot out of the sewers. I thought that was just, like, a creative Batman idea. Like, it wasn't, like, any new groundbreaking stuff. They were doing the year one, what was it, the No Man's Land plot. That's what I was trying to say. They do that one all the time. Like, we see it twice in this trilogy. We see it in Gotham. We see it in The Batman. We see it everywhere. But it's just so good in this one specifically. This film, on its own, does a very good job at that plot. And I feel like it just does a very good job at it. I don't think it's the best, personally. I don't think it's the best that's ever been done. But it could definitely be up there. And it's just it's just such a creative idea that I don't think we ever get. Like, it feels creative from Scarecrow, because, again, we also haven't really gotten a good Scarecrow. Like, we got Scarecrow in Gotham. Did we get Scarecrow anywhere else? I'm probably forgetting something, but they weren't in the 89 trilogy. They weren't in Christopher Nolan. Well, they were in Christopher Nolan. So where else, like, would Batman have showed up? I don't think Scarecrow would have. I don't think Scarecrow appeared anywhere else. And this is a good appearance of Scarecrow too. Like, Cillian Murphy isn't like the scary Scarecrow, I guess you could say, but he has presence, and I feel like that's all you need necessarily with Ra's al Ghul. When I first watched it, like, immediately after, I felt like Scarecrow could have held it on, like, on his own, but after rewatching it, after seeing the explosion of Wayne Manor and all that, the inclusion of Ra's or Ra's al Ghul is just so good. I think him coming in to be like, oh, I'm actually, like, I'm the person in charge of Scarecrow, you should fear me. And his motives are so twisted, but they make sense for a main villain. And his first introduction in the mansion is so, like, powerful. And especially as it goes on. And I love Bruce in this too, which I'll talk about quickly. I feel like the Bruce Wayne feels like the persona. And it's brought up so many times how Batman is the real person and Bruce Wayne is the persona instead of the other way around. And I think we get this probably the best in this movie. This or the second. In this trilogy, it's the best ever. But, like, it's just done to such a capacity that I've never seen before. And it's just so good. And even as the film goes, like, on into the train fight, which I love in my opinion, because throughout the whole film, they're talking about how Wayne Enterprises is the center of the city, how the monorails are so important, and how the final battle then later in the film takes place on those monorails. I feel like it's just they do such a good job at taking every single little thread and tying them together so it feels like a coherent story. And especially during the train battle. I know people say, like, it's kind of stupid that they didn't save Liam Neeson, because that is still killing if you didn't save him. But it's not direct killing. And I will say that it's not the best. I wish that they could have come up with something else. But overall, it could have been way worse. And we've seen it way worse. We've seen it in the DCEU trilogies way worse. So I'm not going to complain that that's the way it ended. But I really liked that train fight specifically. I thought it was just such a good... I thought that whole fight was good. And I liked Gordon in the Batmobile. I thought that this Batmobile was just very cool. And overall, I felt like this was probably the coolest we've seen Batman. In the Batman, which, in my opinion, the Batman could be the best Batman film we've ever gotten. I don't think it is, but I think you could make an argument for it. But as good as the Batman is, I don't feel like this is, like, that has a badass Batman. I feel like it's, like, a good Batman. But this Batman is, like, so to a point. And especially at the end, when Batman says his line, like, with Gordon, which I'm just going to skip to him because I can't keep talking about the same things. Like, at the end when Gordon's like, I never said thank you, and Batman says, and you'll never have to, that is supposed to be Batman. And I know there's not so much, like, the thing is because I'm reviewing this so many years later, there's not so many things for me to say that haven't been said already. And I am excited to get to The Dark Knight, because I think I might have more to say about that, because I'm also a huge Two-Face fan, but even if I don't have so much to say about that, in my opinion, this film is still just incredible. Because I think that compared to The Dark Knight, which I still have so much to say on, this film does a lot well in so many ways. I feel like everything about this Batman, this film itself, does such a good job at introducing Batman. Because even though this is a starting point to the trilogy, this is a prologue to The Dark Knight. And if Batman didn't die in The Dark Knight Rises, there could have been a third one like The Dark Knight Falls or something, where Bruce has to finish his journey. It's like a quadrilogy. But that would make sense, because Batman Begins isn't the beginning of the trilogy. Dark Knight is the beginning of the trilogy. So I feel like it's definitely a way to think of it, but I still really enjoyed what this film did. I thought it was very good. I thought it was interesting. And yeah, overall, I just thought this film was just so fun. Like, I'm not saying it's the best Batman film I've ever seen, because that would be untrue. But this is definitely a great starting point for what comes next. I think if this film was bad moving into The Dark Knight, I don't think that would make The Dark Knight better. I think it'd actually make it worse. I think what this does, it helps set the stones that The Dark Knight really builds on. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. See you guys when we talk about The Dark Knight, and see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.